I'm Sade. I'm from New York and I moved out to LA 2.5 years ago.
My name is Floyd Zion. That's what I go by. I'm from like kind of everywhere, I want to say, just because I was born in California, then spent time in Nigeria back home, Nigerian descent, and then really grew up in Houston. Like that's where I went from like middle school to like a little bit of college.
I'm Maru Asmellash. I'm 24 years old. I'm from Amsterdam, and together with my two partners, we are the New Originals, which is a clothing brand from Amsterdam, and we focus on making performance clothing for creatives.
I'm Kristina Garnett. I am a multidisciplinary artist. I'm from LA, born in the Bronx, raised here.
It's funny how I started off as a chef and then kind of evolved into like this artsy expression of food and stuff like that. So my 9 to 5, I work at a production company and I produce food content for a Facebook page, and I mostly work with brands, doing like brand integrated videos, creating like ads and just paid videos, just being creative and working with them. Outside of that, I'm a chef and a baker, so I cook for my friends a lot and I bake cookies and cake and I sell them to my friends.
I work a lot with marketing, PR, and building stories. Some way I also do copywriting, but most of the time I'm busy with the public relations that we have within the industry that we work in, building on new projects, new ideas, focusing on the imagery and the visual identity of the New Originals. And as we are a small company, we also operate very close to each other. So my two partners, Risky and Aben, are working on design, and Aben are working on sales. But we mix those a lot because we are in an early stage of the company, and yeah, we influence each other a lot in our operations.
I've been like creating like music like throughout my life. I've had spurts where I've kind of like rapped a little bit. Then I forced my parents to like buy me a guitar when I was like back home in Nigeria and stuff. They wasn't like really interested in knowing how to play, just like in the action of being like a guitarist. But when I really started playing was when I was 17. I picked up the guitar. I was influenced by like Paramore. They had a like award show performance or something like that, and the guitarist hit like this crazy solo. So I was just like, fuck, I need to do that one day. And then from that day, I just started picking up the guitar and just kind of like teaching myself and stuff like that. So yeah, I just kind of got into instruments. Like never wanted to be the main person on the record. I always thought about either joining a band, working with different artists, you know what I'm saying, which I do now, but now I'm more making my own shit, like frontman shit, so.
I found dance myself when I was 4. My brother used to go to this elementary school, well, it's like a pre-K, I guess, near our house on like Pico and Burnside, and we used to walk there to drop him off and pick him up, and my mom was a stay-at-home mom, and he's 5 years older than me, so we would go pick him up from school and we would walk by a dance studio. Lula Washington was located on Pico at that time, and so we would pass by all the time. And one day I like tricked my mom into crossing the street because I really wanted to go into that building. And so I ran ahead of her and went inside and was just like, I think before that I had been like, they dance in there. My mom was like, no, whatever. But there were like pictures of dancers on the building, and I was like, no, they dance in there, Mom. Like, I want to dance in there. And she was like, okay, whatever. And so one day I convinced her to cross the street, and we went inside, and I just was like, they dance in here. See, like, I need to like be in this space. And so my mom asked the front desk person, like, how old do you have to be to sign up? And you had to be 5, and I was 4, and also really short. So I looked like a very small human, but my mom lied and said that I was 5, and was just like, okay, let's just try this out. And it was like everything that I knew that I needed, and I was really good and very small, but got put into a lot of like the older people's groups because I was so about it. So yeah, I had come here just knowing that expression is at the very basis of who I am, and I cried a lot when I was little, which I have no memory of, but everybody loves to remind me of it, and it was just me knowing, I think, that I have a lot to say and share and feel and express in different ways. So it was dance, and then now it transitioned into designing clothes for dance, and then I'm also dancing in my own clothing and styling and designing and
I mean, value-wise, I think it's way easier for me to describe. Like, I'm really about just like being like a real nigga, like in general. Like, that's kind of what I start my every day, every moment kind of like being, you know? So really just like valuing, like keeping it real with people, being honest, like feeling real things, going through all the emotions and stuff like that. So, yeah.
I'd say that I'm like really driven, and I can just like look back in my life and look and see like how no one can really tell me no. Like, I don't really take no as an answer. So I feel like I'm really driven and like a self-starter. I don't need, you know, to be invited to be in certain things. Like for example, like I feel like a lot of creatives, they have this syndrome where they just want to be invited to start to do something, and I feel like you can just break into the industry. So just even the way that I get like work, like freelance work for commercials and stuff like that, like I just reach out to agencies and let them know who I am, and even though they're not signing me, it doesn't mean that like they now don't know who I am and what my resume looks like and a long list of links of work that I've done. So I just think that like just really passionate about what I do, and that also means I work hard at it. I think just passionate by itself isn't enough. You actually have to get better at your craft.
I am, I don't know, forward, honest. I really value authenticity, my own and other people's. And like we were saying earlier, that there's no wrong perspective or opinion or truth or experience. So I really love when someone's themselves always.
In terms of my personality, I'm a talker, I'm a thinker, and not really good with my hands. So I like to use my head and my words more than than physical products.
Now it's just literally just like this most of the times. It would just still be me like in the studio like that, someone's in something like this, and I would just kind of like feel something out. I might already have thought of a record on the road or just like something like that, but most times I come in here and I just like pick up like either my guitar or plug in some shit like that and then just start searching for sounds, you know, it's just for what sounds different, what sounds nice. And then once I find something, boom, I just start building on top of that, throw some beats on it, throw some drums, you know what I'm saying? Usually use like synthesized drums. And then boom, like the beats there, the elements are there at least to like write a song to if I haven't already wrote the record, and then I start recording. So it's usually like at least my last album, the Artist Unknown album, which dropped December, that was pretty much that process. It was just me going through it and just fucking trying to like dig out sounds and then put shit together, record the vocals and shit, just on like some one-man army shit.
Like, I write a lot of recipes. I write a lot of savory recipes and sweet recipes, and I think that that process is just writing it down, testing it, just getting re-inspired. And I'm in this kitchen all the time. This is where I spend most of my time when I'm home. But yeah, I just think the process is just getting your hands dirty and just starting, because you'll figure out things along the way.
Yeah. I look back again to a lot of the things that have been interesting to me, a lot of the times in my youth, and when I recognize those things, it's like I have a puzzle right in front of me, and I just have to put the pieces together. So it starts most of the time with a lot of the times commercial causes, and then like trying to achieve a certain revenue or a new collection, or we have to do a showroom in Paris, something very concrete and more necessary. And from there, you just put on the meat on the skeleton with authentic stories.
I think my creative process is mostly based around choice and freedom. I feel like I don't have a structure for the way I create, but that could also be because I think that I'm comparing what it should be or like what other people's are. So I don't know, I've never really taken the time to think about this. I mostly get up and just like sit in silence for like 20 minutes and light a candle and like just declare that whatever needs to be for me today is for me, and then I come in here and say another prayer and I'm like, thank you, let's get it, and then whatever comes out comes out. It's really formless, but I think it also, that's what helps me create form.
I spent a lot of time kind of figuring this space out. It was a lot of room when I first moved in. It was very blank, and I was sold on it because of how much space was in the kitchen. However, I wanted it to feel very like homey and cozy if it were just me or 2 people or 6 people, because I can sit up to 6 people on this. But I just wanted it to feel like really cozy and comfortable and not sterile with like iron chairs around a circle. And I work from here. I don't have a desk. And that's deliberate because this is considered my workspace. Like, people they're afraid to make where they live homey because they know that they're gonna leave. But for me, it's never gonna feel like home, like the whole year that you're there, if you don't add to it paint, if you don't, like when I painted, I asked my landlord, like, hey, what's the paint color? So when I move out, I can paint it back.
So space, it's complementary to the ideal world that you're making. Spaces that you recognize yourself in, or spaces that bring the people together. It's on the foot of change, but it should not be the crucial part. It should not be the reason why you start, that there is a space. There's no boundary necessary, like this geographical area is where you're gonna perform. Like, I would like to think that without anything, you should be able to perform as well. So a space is more complementary to the process. And to go back to the areas where we are from, there were no spaces. So with that lack of space, with that lack of inspiration in our own surrounding, there came the necessity to create it ourselves. And I think that's even stronger at the end, that you create because of a lack, that you think like, oh, this needs to be done, I need to create this. There's no space for this yet, so we're going to build this house, or we're going to build this store. There's a goal to achieve, but don't let it be the roof of it as well. Like, you should be able to outgrow it as well, or go into bigger spaces. I'm working a lot in, at least I'm trying to achieve collaboration with the municipal to create new spaces in the Bijlmer area, like we are in right now in the Heesterveld. To make sure that the facilities are not always out of reach, because the distance that we had to go, I wouldn't recommend that to anyone. That you really, really have to find yourself out. Like, at the end of the day, that's the process that's built the strongest, I would say. But there's multiple ways to Rome. There's multiple paths to Rome. It's a Dutch saying, but it's really true. So what works for me doesn't work for another person. And if you can recognize yourself within a space, within the people that work in a space, you get inspired. You'll be touched in a different way than seeing it on the internet or whatever.
Like, space is everything, dude. Like, and just for me, like, moving around a lot and everything, I've kind of learned how important it is to be in certain elements to do certain stuff. I mean, there's times when I've been like staying with my, like just staying at my girl's spot or something like that, and I'm just like stuck in there and I'm creating, and it's way different than being in a space like this, you know. But my biggest thing is that the space has to be able to like be like controlled, you know, but be able to get loud as fuck. Because when I'm like making music, I'm not trying to have like a sound limit. I need to listen to shit like up here, you know what I'm saying, to really feel it. And I'm not trying to have like anything coming outside like, oh, like bring that down a notch and shit like that. So the biggest thing for me in space is like, I gotta be able to put that shit on the max, no like disruption, you know.
Before I got this space, I was working at this corporate job that had nothing to do with anything, but the money was really great. And I knew that I didn't need to be there for very long. And I had found the listing for this space on Facebook in like this private group that I'm in, and nobody wanted it because everyone was looking for places to live. So it ended up working out perfectly because I was having a conversation a few days before that with a friend, and they were like, maybe you don't need to move out yet, like from home, just find a studio space that you can work out of. And I was like, oh, that's actually a good idea. And then kind of just like went along on my day. But I happened to go like into that group and look around and saw this, and then ended up getting the keys like the next day. Like my studio mate is awesome. Like they're both really great. So in the beginning I was like, oh my God, yeah, I'm living my purpose. And I would get here like really early in the morning and just like be so about it. And all of this stuff was in our house. Like, I don't even know how all this shit like fit in the apartment, but it was there. And it was crazy because it was everything that I needed for this place. And it was just really confirming. And then the fears started coming back up of like, what if I can't maintain it? And like, who am I even? And like all of that. And it really influenced the way that I moved in here because I wasn't keeping it as nicely, and it all felt really temporary to me, even though it wasn't. But like the unresolved fear made it feel like this was just a moment and it wasn't gonna last.